are set, the odds are high. Every bet a test who will survive. Chase the stacks, outlast the crowd. Only the strongest left now. Who's ready to win? This is more than gambling. Let's start the show. It's Last Man Standing.
Let's take a look back at the 2025 Circa Survivor Contest and how we got to our final 10 survivors. The contest began with a record-setting 18,718 entries. The rules are simple. Pick one NFL team to win each week. If they lose, you're out. If you win, you can't use that team again for the rest of the season. The first major crash came in Week 5, an upset in the Rams versus 49ers, which eliminated 3,524 survivors. But the carnage didn't stop there. The Cardinals blew a secure lead and lost to the Titans on a wild fumble that was scooped up for a touchdown, sending home another 3,152 contestants. Then came Week 8, a bloodbath. Losses by the Falcons and Bengals decimated the field. Only 2,057 survivors remained. As the season progressed, there wasn't much carnage, and the Thanksgiving games arrived with clear favorites to choose. But if you chose a favorite this Thanksgiving, you would have sealed your fate. Dogs swept the board, winning every game and eliminating 95% of the remaining survivors. 18,000 hopefuls once chased a dream. 10 now fight for history. Everyone starts with a chance and a dream, but the NFL shows no mercy. Who will survive to the end? Who will walk away with millions of dollars? The quest for $18.7 million continues with 10 survivors, possibly one decision away from winning it all and being the last person standing.
Welcome, everyone, to Last Men Standing. Jason, what an intro. You and Mike collaborated on that. What a phenomenal way to set the stage for this show tonight, but also, I think, get people who are in it a little hyped up. Not that they weren't already, but if I'm one of the 10 left and I'm listening to that music and I'm watching those highlights and reminiscing about this season, I'm a little more fired up after watching your video. So well done on that, brother.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the great Mike Jones. Nothing to do with me. He did the whole thing. And the music in the back, that music in the background gets me going. Like a lot of these musics get you going, right? NBA on NBC, that music getting going again. I mean, don't get me started on that. But Tony, I'm so excited to be here tonight. And what I'll say, we appreciate everyone joining us, following us at Last Men Pod. Tony been putting in the work because as this contest goes along, certainly less contestants in it. So we appreciate all you being with us, Tony. I can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, it's a great show. We're doing our typical Week 15 NFL preview from a Circa Survivor perspective. Of course, we're going to go over every game like we do every week, but this show's a little extra special, Jason, because we have 3 interviews lined up. We've got 3 of the 10 people who are still alive in Circa Survivor, 30% of the remaining field, who are fighting for $18.72 million. I've got so many questions for them. I can't wait to pick their brain and just talk to them about, you know, their process and things like that. So it's going to be a blast. It's kind of a unique show. I'm really looking forward to it. And the comments are already coming in. People are coming in hot. No chop. This guy put this comment in like 20 minutes before the show started. He feels very passionately about that. No chop. We got other people telling people, go ahead and do like a semi-chop. Set aside a little bit, play for a little bit more. We call that a save as opposed to a chop. And then Dog, Joe Fund, love him, says, what an intro, boys. Appreciate you. And we'll just keep these comments rolling. But, Jason, we need to also recognize last week because we had some more carnage. The number 1 and number 2 team goes down. Jason, this spot for Tampa Bay was the spot. When you looked at their whole schedule for all season long, this was the spot people thought to use the Bucs. Bucs go down to the Saints.
Unbelievable.
Browns,
78% of the field gone. Go ahead.
Done. Next spot, Browns, 5 people go out, 1 out on the Ravens, 1 out on the Eagles. And I want to take a moment to just talk about this guy who went out on the Eagles, because this is really impressive.
Yes.
Sammy Savarel, he goes by Sammy Sadis. Jason, I don't know if you heard this, but he's one of the 6 who chopped in Grandissimo. He finishes essentially 11th place in Circa Survivor with an overtime loss, by the way. And the same week.
Oh, you say it like that. 11th place, Tony. You're killing me. Go ahead.
The same week, he wins a $2.5 million pot limit Omaha poker tournament. What a 10-day or 11-day stretch for this guy. Absolutely unbelievable. Just incredible. So hats off to him. I mean, when you can finish 11th in Circa Survivor and win Grandissimo, that's a hell of a season. Plus the poker win on top of that. Absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, carnage. People that stayed off the chalk this week are the ones who got through.
And isn't that a theme, right? Zigging when others zag, right? When others are looking for a favorite, you're looking to see which dogs are barking. But as I alluded and interrupted you, and forgive me, 78% of the field, there's Dixon, appreciate you. 78% of the field gone, right? 35 out of 45 gone. It's like after the Thanksgiving gut, while there aren't as many alive, it's an absolutely enormous gutting. And what I'll say to you, and I want to hear from you more than me, but I find myself tailing these folks in the contest, right? And Morgan was on our show last week. She was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hope that's no secret. But I'm like tying the Bucs to every money line wager I play, right? I'm like, I want a little juice in this contest. So I went down with you all a little bit, but it is unbelievable. And I'll finally say, Tony, when Mike Evans, right? I know that with flirting, maybe he was going to be playing, right? If Mike Evans had played, that would have given me more confidence. Obviously, I didn't know what people's boards looked like.
Yeah, very good point. Someone is asking Morgan, who was on our show last week, did Morgan survive? Unfortunately, she didn't. If you go over to Last Men Pod, our Twitter account, you can see a photo that she sent us. She went down with the Bucs as well, so she got caught up in that carnage. Hate to see that. We have our first guest who's still alive in Circa Survivor in about 3 minutes. Before we introduce him, I just had some quick takeaways that I wanted to hit on real quick, Jason, because they're relevant to Circa Survivor. Takeaway number 1, Daniel Jones gets hurt in that game. You and I mentioned on the show, hey, if Daniel Jones was on a 4-year contract, do you think they'd be playing him on this, semi-fractured leg? And I get it. The injury that occurred was on his other leg, but there may have been some compensation taken.
Yes, Tony.
Related, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe an irresponsible decision for the Colts. Was it irresponsible or was it just out of desperateness? Because they really don't have much of a backup quarterback there, as we saw. But this Colts injury, and we'll see what Phillip Rivers looks like at 44 years old, folks, and we'll talk about that game later. But this Colts injury has a massive ripple effect on Circa Survivor starting this week, Jason, because the Colts have, the Colts have on their schedule the 49ers, the Jaguars, and Texans. What do those 3 teams all have in common? Those are all 3 potential options that you might have been considering using this week if you're one of the 10 still alive in Circa Survivor. Now, all of a sudden, the Colts lose their starting quarterback, and the 49ers against the Colts look pretty good next week. 6.5-point favorites on the look-ahead line. The Colts against the Jaguars. Look what the Jaguars just did to the Colts. How do you not love the Jaguars against the Colts later this season? So people who may have been planning to use the Jaguars, 49ers, or even Texans this week in Circa Survivor might have second thoughts now that Daniel Jones goes down.
Absolutely. And I'm thrilled you brought it up. And that Colts team, some of us have been fading that Colts team even with Daniel Jones at quarterback. But it wouldn't give you that same confidence in the Circa Survivor Contest if Daniel Jones is walking through that door. So fascinating to see whoever that quarterback may be. We'll get to that game later, but it's a great takeaway from you.
Absolutely. All right. And my other takeaway real quick, the Dolphins have now won 4 in a row in 5 of their last 6, 520 yards rushing in their last 4 games, 6.8 yards per carry from Achane. Dolphins are suddenly looking like someone that you have to be concerned about. You might have wanted to fade them earlier in the season. I don't know if that's the case anymore. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our first of 3 guests. Really excited to talk to V. V is the proud owner of the Brad Lee entry. I'm going to say it one more time. One of 10 still alive, fighting for $18.72 million. Before we talk, V, about your journey this season, can you give us a little background? How long you've been playing Circa Survivor for? When did you discover this contest, etc.?
Okay, yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I've been playing since maybe the second year it's been available. I've been playing with one guy. He's been my partner the whole time. He's the brains behind it, pretty much. I'm
Okay.
the beauty, but um, I'm the
Love
lucky
it.
one, so that's why he has me along.
I
But
love it.
yeah, it's been great. We got deep one year. I think we made it to Thanksgiving. We took the winless Lions, and
Mm.
they remained winless after Thanksgiving. So that was basically the furthest we have gotten until
Gotcha. So
now.
that bold move on Thanksgiving that year doesn't pay off, but you kind of go back to the well, take an underdog on Thanksgiving this year. Talk to us about that decision to go with a dog this year on Thanksgiving.
Well, my friend who runs all the numbers, he ran the numbers. He said that Chicago had the best EV for us. He told me to make the pick. I think he was he was nervous about it. He's like he told me he'd be relieved if we took Philly, but I got to go with his number. So I'm like, all right, let's go with Chicago. So
You
we
know,
went. And we got
and I'll
lucky.
tell you, I don't mean to cut you off, but the EV, I've heard a lot of barking about that EV with Chicago. And Tony, I may be mistaken, but 8 of the 10 entries that are still alive took Chicago on Thanksgiving when they had Philadelphia available to them. So a lot of
Nice
sharp
play there.
minds. So, and what I'm curious about, only 3 entries for you at the beginning of the year. Am I correct there?
Yes, yeah. We thought it'd be too hard to manage more entries, and it's just me and my friend. So we went with 3, and yeah.
Well, and the strategy is different, right? I had 4 entries with my brother early in the season, and those that have 10 or, even as you get sort of 6, 7, 8, the strategy does change. And so you with 3, congrats on still being alive with only
Thank
3
you,
because
thank you.
a
It
lot of
feels
entries
good.
have 10. But seeing some of your strategy, it's great to see how the board, does anything stand out for you this season? And I could look at, there's your board. That'd go Mike Jones. Anything stand out where you're like, I needed that break that week? I know there may be multiple. What stands out for you over this 14-week span?
We lost 2 entries on Thursday night games. Not that we thought about that too much. I see we took Detroit week 10. We were considering keeping them for Christmas, but we just figured let's just survive for now. We took Detroit, and yeah, we were planning to hold Denver to Christmas, but it was just too good of an opportunity last week to pass up. So we took them last week, luckily, or else we probably would have been on the Browns.
V, people are really curious about the progress or maybe progress not being made toward a chop. It was actually the first comment that we had as soon as Jason and I logged into the studio today. Someone says, no chop. What can you tell us about discussions that have taken place? How do you feel, just generally speaking, about a chop in general? What's your sentiment about that?
I know my partner, Mazda, he's been discussing it with a few of the live entries, but I'm not sure if it sounded like some of them were willing to do something and some of them didn't want to yet. I mean, I would love to do a save. Even if it's, I know some entries have less value than others, and maybe ours is slightly less, So if it's not an even save, I get that. But yeah, I would love to do a save and play for the rest. But, people don't want to chop. I guess I don't know, let it ride, I guess.
I heard you say maybe our entry is worth a little less. Like in the ranking of the 10, do you have a sense or opinion on where yours ranks? And Mike, I don't know if you can pull up that graphic that has all 10 paths from Survivor Atlas. But V, where do you think yours ranks in that top 10?
I mean, it definitely ranks in the lower half, but I mean, we're still alive. We still have value. But yeah, it is probably one of the weaker entries that are left. But yeah,
There it is.
There it
Do
is.
you say that? Do you say that solely because of using Dallas as we peek ahead to Christmas, if you will?
yeah. Like for Christmas, I know 4 of the entries only have Washington and Minnesota, and you were one of those. So I guess we'll be picking one of those teams if we make it that far. Which I'll be happy to make it that far. I mean, we could. By the time we get to Christmas, we'll be able to hedge. So I'll feel better if we make it there. So we'll see.
One of the nice things about your entry, V, is you do still have the Jaguars available. You're one of 6 that has Jacksonville available, and it's looking like that's a good team to have as the season finishes, especially as we said at the start of the show with Daniel Jones now out. You got another game against the Colts, Jets and Titans on tap as well for the Jaguars. Yeah. Can you talk me through why you still have Jacksonville available? Like, did you save them intentionally, or was this a team that you maybe didn't trust early on and you just so happen to have them left? Like, why do you still have Jacksonville available at this point?
Honestly, we just took it week to week and tried to pick a good team every week. I mean, we weren't necessarily trying to save Jacksonville in particular because, obviously you look to save teams for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, yeah, we didn't look to save them in particular. We're actually going to use them this week. So, go Jags. I figured this is a good spot to use them. I know there may be other teams on them. We were debating obviously amongst the other teams, but I think Jacksonville is where we're going.
All right, breaking news. V says he's going with Jacksonville this week. V, are you sort of intentionally putting that out there because you don't want other people on your island and you want it known? Or am I overthinking it and there's not much strategy in it? You're just
no, for sure. That's something we talked about, me and my partner. Yeah, that's something we're thinking about, and I think there probably will be some entries on them, but there are other teams to consider, like San Francisco and Philly. We thought about them, but yeah, we ended up on Jacksonville.
You talk about the hedging. Tony, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's interesting because everybody has either Philly or San Francisco available. So if you guys were, say, the only ones on Jacksonville, it's a potential scoop scenario. I think there'll maybe more than one on Jacksonville, but theoretically, it could be like 5 Philly, 4 San Francisco, 1 Jacksonville. I think you'd love to see a spread like that on Saturday night, no?
Yes, that would be great, but we'll see. I don't think we'll be the only one on Jacksonville, but
right. I think 4 have used, 6 have Jacksonville available. If my eyes are not deceiving me. Yep. But you're probably hoping that the dogs are barking on Christmas too, right? I know you talked about the hedging opportunity, but
yes,
the way they were barking on Turkey Day, maybe they'll be barking. Maybe Santa will bring some dogs barking along too.
Yes, I hope so. And, with, the Jaden Daniels situation, we don't know if he'll come back or not. We're not really counting on that, but it would be nice if it happened.
I hear you. And you get Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin wanting to put up numbers, not unlike Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, perhaps in Cincinnati. You never know. Tony knows funky things happen week 17, week 18. What are the Cowboys playing for? A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a big day if we make it there. I'm not really thinking about it too much till we make it there, if we make it there, but I hope so.
V, when you say you're not thinking about it too much, and this is probably my last question for you before we let you go, but I've got to know, what is your day-to-day like? When I got down to, I had 2 entries in the final 80 a couple years ago, and my family happened to be visiting me while this is all going on, and I wasn't a normal person. I couldn't friggin' think straight. I'm wondering, psychologically, what is this like for you on a day-to-day basis as decision day comes closer and that big Sunday is coming up here?
Oh yeah, I've been nervous since Black Friday. I mean, I saw your segment about you talking about it, Survivor. Yeah. I mean, I have friends visiting from Thailand. They're staying with me right now. Oh, and, wow. All I'm thinking about is Survivor. When I play poker, the same thing. When I go to sleep, I think I'm dreaming about it. So yeah, it's a big spot, and it's a great contest, and it is great to go this deep.
Are your friends from Thailand NFL fans?
Yeah, one of them is, yes.
Nice. But, so you've got some company to watch the games with.
Yeah. But I don't know. I usually go out on Sundays, but now I've canceled all my Sunday plans. So I can sweat the games. Yeah.
I love it. V, we're going to be rooting for you. Before I let you go, we're going to bring in our next guest, and then we're going to let you go. But I want you guys to get like at least 30 seconds or 60 seconds of FaceTime together. I thought that would be cool to have you guys both here together because, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that you've met Pete before. Have you guys met before?
We've not.
Fantastic. All right, so you guys are getting FaceTime together. Maybe a potential deal in the future. Who knows? Who knows? But go ahead if you guys want to say anything to each other, whatever you want to do here for the next minute or so.
Well, I'd like to thank you guys first of all. And Tony, I know you've been very, very helpful in connecting us with the other entries that are live. So yeah, thank you for that. And I have the Bradley entry, and which entry do you have, Pete?
I have the parts 1. You're going Jacksonville this week.
Yes.
That's big. That's big.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you, Pete? Why do you say that's big? Is that something you were curious about?
Well, each entry is 10% of the field, so it's like when someone announces their pick, that's something. But you gotta like actually submit it. You could say, but like you could say that you're going to Jacksonville, but like maybe you're going.
Are you suggesting he's playing a little poker here and might not actually be going Jacksonville?
It is possible. I don't know V very well or at all, actually.
Good point.
But as a former poker player myself, I have to think about that.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right, V, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I know you got a lot on your mind this week. It means a lot to us that you were able to come on the show, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me. And good luck to you, Pete. And
good luck, V.
Yeah, and we'll see how it plays out this weekend. Yeah.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Good luck.
We'll be rooting for you, brother. Thanks so much.
Good luck.
All right. So Pete Tarshowitz. Sorry, I didn't really give you a full intro because I wanted that transition to happen. But Pete is the owner of the Parts 1 entry, and that's Parts with a Z, by the way. So welcome to the show, Pete. Your first appearance on Last Men Standing. We appreciate you being here. Same question I asked V to start. I'm curious if you can tell us about the genesis of how you ended up in Circa Survivor. How many years have you been doing it? Have you made deep runs in the past, etc.?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's like so similar to his. I started last year.
Nice.
Like seriously doing this, and I made it to the final week last year. Unfortunately, I was on Atlanta. But
overtime, right?
Don't feel so sad. I hedged. It was fine.
Good. Attaboy.
It wasn't the maximum, obviously, that
Sure.
that we can make, but I hedged enough to where it was worth my while. And then so I'm back for more.
Man, first 2 years in Circa Survivor and 2 very, very deep runs. What would you kind of credit your success to these last couple of years?
I mean, in the winner take all, it's just like you just have to be so incredibly lucky. There's just no other way. Like, yeah, sure. You talk about EV and like, nailing the ownership, but you just have to get, I mean, it's a 20 leg parlay, kind of that you have to hit. It's just very tough.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So I said this to V when he was on, but so the decision to go with Chicago on Thanksgiving with Philadelphia available, can you walk us through your mind on that one?
Yeah. Like in general, the way that I play is I'm trying to win the contest. And so when I'm like presented with a scenario where it's actually, in my opinion, like positive EV to go the Bears, I'm going to do that, regardless of like what their win percentage is.
Yeah, same answer. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah. So
fair.
That was just it.
Well, and it's fascinating. I said of the 10 contestants that are still alive, I don't know if you heard me say this, but 8 went with the Bears on Thanksgiving and had Philadelphia available, if I'm not mistaken. It's bananas and respect. But I guess it's pretty simple in the eyes of those 8.
It's, it's not like it's simple in theory, but you do have to click it. You're like, am I just dumb? Like Philly's, 75, 80% to win. And then you're clicking the other side. So it just feels weird, but
right. And then they lose to the Chargers the next week. You're like, I'm not dumb.
Yeah, that game was rough. That was a rough game.
Whew. Yeah. Pete, you're one of 4 that have used the 49ers, so you don't need to have them on your radar. I'm sure you're kind of scouting the field and trying to predict what other people are going to do. So of the other 6 who do have the 49ers available, how many are you expecting to see actually select the 49ers on Saturday night?
I'd have to look at all of their rosters. I mean, I do have it up here.
We can put it on the screen too.
Yeah. Take your time.
Yeah, we'll drop it for you.
Like four comes to mind.
Yep.
I just don't know.
There you go. If that's helpful.
Yeah, I think it's just like I would say 4, but like I'm not that confident in that. It's kind of a weird week where you just have these 3 teams that are widely available for all the entrants, and like the win percentages are just so high.
Yeah.
So like it's funny, like all the win percentages being equal, it's like, okay, who would you like, what's your best path going forward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
Tony's probably spent 24 hours with this screen in front of him. I mean, how much, right? I mean, how much do you dive in when it gets down to 10 entries? Because you can do a lot of homework.
yeah, you can, which is cool because you're not, doing homework on thousands of entries. It's 10. We got 10.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So, but I try not to let it consume my life.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. This Thursday game doesn't seem like it's in play.
Right.
So that's that. We get an extra couple days to think about it, but generally just like think about it. Friday night, Saturday morning, make a decision, and then just roll with it.
Pete, one of the things I like about your position is that you've got the Patriots still in your pocket. You're one of 4 who does. That's Jason's team, by the way, if you didn't know. There's a lot of strong opinions out there about the Patriots because obviously they've won a lot of games. They haven't like really played a tough schedule though. They've played a really easy schedule. Just talk to me in general about how you feel about having the Patriots in your pocket if you can make it to the final 2 weeks when you have some matchups that appear to be pretty soft.
Yeah, it feels nice to have them, but like, yes, obviously you have to get through. But also, people talk about getting to the final week 20, but what if we just don't even, we're not 100% to get there.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Like after
not even 100% to get to Christmas, right?
Exactly. So it's like after Christmas, there's probably only going to be like 5 max. Just by the way, it's going to break down with Washington, Dallas.
Right.
Things obviously can happen to change that, but like as of right now, as we sit, like half is going to be on one side, about half is going to be on the other side. So it's
yeah.
Well, in terms of the Patriots, and Tony and I have talked a lot about sort of week 17, 18 in the NFL, sometimes you have teams that are playing for nothing, but I do think it is shaping up for New England that they are going to be playing for something. Buffalo at home this week, then at Baltimore. But then those final 2 games at the Jets, home to Miami. I know they're division games, but you also could be getting Milton Williams and or Will Campbell back. So I think those 2 weeks, while I thought I was hopeful as a Patriots fan, maybe week 18 they're not playing for anything, it's very likely Denver is going to be in the picture still at that point, and they're going to need a W.
So personally, I think we overblow like the play for something, the rest. I mean, I will never forget the Giants last year.
Oh, did you know, Pete? I was on them. I was on them in Circa Survivor. Yeah, the Drew Lock game when Drew Lock had 4 touchdowns. Oh yeah, and the Giants were, to your point, the Giants were out of it. The Colts were actually technically playing for a playoff spot, and the Giants were supposedly tanking. Good.
Yeah, to get the number one pick, and like I will just never forget that game.
Yeah.
They benefit if they lose. The Colts are trying to get into the playoffs or have a better seed or something like that. Like it just didn't go out that way.
No, I hear you. My point was more about Buffalo last year, week 18, literally having nothing to play for as a great team at one of the worst teams in football, the Patriots. And the Patriots should have lost to get the number 1 overall pick, and they don't. Right? I think you have a great chance. I think the Patriots are going to need to win week 17 and 18 to perhaps secure the number 1 seed. So that in and of itself may be a little bit of a different point, but your point's well taken.
That's fair. Yep. I see what you're saying now. Yep.
Pete, where do you think your entry stacks up with the 10? If I were to ask you, literally pick a number for me, is it right in the middle? Is it 5? Is it 1? Is it 10? Where are you at?
No, we're in the bottom. I know where we are. We're forced to take an underdog in Christmas. You can't really say that entry is like in the middle of the pack, or Atlas is rank wise. Yeah, that looks right. So we're down there.
So where are you from? Are you an NFL fan in general? Are you a fan of a specific team? What's your story?
So I live in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Grew up a Phillies fan. But I just I grew up a Philly fan, but I'm not like diehard. My wife's a diehard Eagles fan. So, so when they win, I'm happy because everyone else around me is happy. That's nice.
Wow. Pete, we got a question coming in. You said that you might not have one of the stronger entries. With that in mind, does that make you want to sell off some of this, make deals? Does that make you a little more eager for a chop because you believe your entry is not necessarily in the top 5?
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to chop even, obviously, I'm going to take that. But it's just so difficult to get a chop through with 10 people left, and everybody thinks their entry is worth more than it actually is.
Except you seem to have a good feel for.
I mean, I'm a little bit more realistic in our position, so it's just it's I don't want to spend all this time when I know it's 1 or 2% to actually get through, and so I'm just kind of happy, just I'll see you next week, or I'll see you after Christmas when there's 4 or 5 people left. That makes it more sense to me. Just the value of time. I mean, I'm not just gonna my entry's worth this, your entry's worth this. Well, I don't think your entry's worth this. I'm not playing that game.
Right.
I hear you.
Sure. Pete, my last question for you before we bring in our next guest, and we'll do a little overlap too, so you can get some FaceTime with him for about a minute or so before we bring in Chris. In terms of making decisions, are you the sole person that's making the decision? Do you have partners to consider? You got other people in your ear? You got a group chat? How do you come to your decision?
Yes, I am. I do have partners, and it's really nice with them. We're all very like-minded. Nice. So there really hasn't been a spot where there's no real spots where we're just oh, I want the opposite of that, or I want something completely it's just, we're kind of all on the same page. It's really just a pleasure working with them. There's no fights. It's just
nice,
kind of seamless. So it's nice. It's nice. Good environment.
You should knock on wood. You said there's no fights, but it's getting pretty tense here with a couple weeks left. I hope the decision process keeps going smoothly for you guys.
You just got to trust the process. That's all.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and bring Chris in, and we'll let you go in about a minute or so, Pete, but I kind of want to have this overlap because I think it's cool for you guys to get some FaceTime. Do you guys know each other? Pete and Chris,
yes.
Are you familiar with each other?
Yes, we are.
Fantastic. Like friends, close, or just acquaintances?
No. We texted on. I know your Twitter handle, right, Pete?
Yeah, Petars.
Oh, never mind. I thought you were.
I was wait a second. I do not know you.
No. Okay. I must have been speaking to one of your partners as they.
Okay. John.
His Twitter handle's Buffoon.
Yeah.
That's not John. Okay. Yes. I apologize. I got you guys.
I know. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
Cool. Anything you guys, we'll give you guys about a minute or so FaceTime. And of course, I'm sure you'll talk offline, et cetera. Anything you guys want to say to each other in this minute or so before we transition to Chris's one-on-one time or two-on-one time?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to tell me exactly who you're going to pick this week, then, that's
we'll be going to San Francisco.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'll write it down.
But, as you said, we have not submitted it yet. And I could be bluffing. I will say, no, I'm very incentivized to announce it. I actually want to submit right now, but we have 2 partners that are well, why don't we just wait for injury news? But I want to submit and send that confirmation to tell everyone, because I don't want anyone else on Sanford. I'm very open with why I'm saying it. I think you're unfortunately I think you're unfortunately going to be probably right that there's probably going to be 4. I'm hoping for 3 on San Fran, but if there was 5, I would be very upset.
So like like me answering that question, like I don't have San Fran available. I haven't really thought about it. So just
okay.
like 4 teams, right? I don't know. not a decision for me.
This is great. I think a lot of people who are new to Circa Survivor, their minds are blown right now because they're like, what? These guys, some of them are poker players. It's the final 10, and they're just announcing their picks. I don't
It's
think
not because I'm a good
understand.
person. It's because it's smart. That's why.
Right. Yeah. Chris, can you explain, and Pete, feel free to stick around for this if you want. Maybe you want to chime in. Can you explain why it is smart? Because I think there's some people out there that are confused, and this doesn't make any sense to them.
This week in particular is very obvious because Jacksonville, San Fran, and Philly have such close win probabilities that if I knew, for example, that all 8 were on, all 6 available, all 5 available, other than myself was on San Fran, I would never go San Fran because that would be idiotic because I'd be on it. I would pivot to Philly. So telling it lets others know, and they're now more incentivized to go Philly and Jacksonville. And we ideally, which would benefit everyone, we get a 3-3-4 kind of breakdown. That's what everyone is really hoping for. Also, selfishly, I would be hope for somehow a dream of 1-5-4, but I don't think that's going to happen.
The Clint Eastwood meme comes to mind. Get off my lawn, like get off my island. Not an island per se, but you get my point. Did you want to chime in anything on that, Pete?
No, he's right.
Same philosophy.
Yeah, he's right. I haven't talked to my partners about it specifically yet. Like we have an idea, but I'm not just going to say it on stream without talking to them.
Yeah.
That would be irresponsible. So I'm not going to say what we're thinking. But maybe I'll have somebody tweet it out or take a screenshot of the submission.
Yeah,
if
we're
you
there.
do need a megaphone, if you do decide you want to take that approach and you want people to know, feel free to DM me and we'll be happy to announce it to the world.
Oh,
who
perfect.
you're going to be on. Happy to help.
Pete, I can even tell you what we're doing next week if we survive.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it, Chris.
Well, we're the only one on Buffalo, so of course we're going Buffalo next week. But it doesn't again. That one doesn't even matter because we're already island there.
Yeah. We're just getting down to the end where people only have so many teams left, so it's just kind of okay. It's got Buffalo. Obviously, it's going Buffalo. No one can do anything about it.
Yeah,
that's great. It's a good spot.
Gotcha.
Good spot.
Good stuff. Well, Pete, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We'll be rooting for you. Really appreciate your time, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. See ya. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, brother.
You too.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for coming on. Again, I didn't really give you a proper introduction. Okay. For people who aren't familiar with you, you go by Flup, but your full name is Chris Dierkes. Yep. And you also won Circa Survivor last year. Yes. And I may need some fact checkers on this. I don't believe there has been a back-to-back winner yet in Circa Survivor. So, and maybe I'm wrong on that, but you're going for back-to-back titles. I'm curious if you think your experience last year kind of helps you navigate all that's happening right now this year.
This late, probably not, because as Pete was mentioning, the picks are pretty set in stone. If you're looking at my entry, you kind of know, look, I'm going to be going Buffalo next week. Guess what? I have Commanders in Minnesota, probably going Commanders for Christmas. There's no really decision making for me. When we get to 17 and 18, maybe there's a decision there, but I don't think the experience will help out earlier in the year. Absolutely, because it's very difficult. There's a lot of options.
How about outside the decision making though, with hedging and deals? And it's just I've been, as I said before, final 80. I had 2, not quite as far as you, but people were coming out of the woodwork, messaging me. There was a lot of. It almost felt like CBS Survivor, alliances and shit like that. It was really wild. So, how about that aspect of it? Do you think you learned anything last year?
Yeah, I will say it's funny. I was last year when I was first doing it. People were talking when they were open with their picks, and I was like, well, this is weird. I don't want to tell. Then I had to think about it. I was, wait a second. It actually makes sense to tell people who you're going. That's why I'm so open with it now. That was something I learned last year. And it's funny to see people wanting to be hush hush about their picks. I'm like, it only helps you to tell the world where you're going. That's why I did it.
That makes complete sense.
So Chris, forgive me if I'm pronouncing the name of your company incorrectly, but you were the head of trading at Novig.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So
that's correct.
Tell me a little bit about that. I think it got to be a good thing for Novig that their head of trading won Circa Survivor last year and is on a good path this year. I mean, talk to me. What's your professional life all about?
Yeah, I mean, I just help provide liquidity to the exchange to make sure that people can be trading whenever they want. Honestly, I don't think they even care. I don't even think a lot of the CEO doesn't even probably know. I've told the other traders, but like, I don't think he cares. He's just like, just as long as I'm doing a good job, that's all I'm trying to do.
Tony, I want to, Mike, put the board back up because Tony, this made me feel so much better that the winner of, put up C3 picks. Thank you. So I went out in week 8 because I didn't have the Colts available to me. Very similar, had multiple. Yeah, I started with 4 entries, but I didn't have the Colts available. And so I see that your entries, you were in a similar predicament in week 8. That single-handedly has made me feel so much better about myself tonight because Tony asked me on our show week 8, he's like, aren't you a little bit jealous? And I'm like, no, motherfucker, I'm not jealous of those who have Indianapolis week 8. Excuse my language. But so anyway, seeing your board, you're certainly a sharp guy, makes me feel a little bit better about myself here December 10th. So thank you for that.
Of course. I will say we did have a little regret here. This is not our only entry. It's C3's it's partnership with 3 people that all first names start with C. We had actually 60 entries to start. And last week we had 2 left. And we were debating, the week prior, we were debating going LA or what was a big one for LA? I'm forgetting.
Last week?
Not with Tampa Bay busting the week prior. The chalk.
Seattle at Atlanta?
Yes. No. Oh yeah. We're debating one of those, and we decided to go with LA, or we decided to go with LA, which got busted. But if we went with LA, we would have gone with Tampa Bay this week and gotten busted. So I'm happy either way.
Gotcha. I have a question for you, Flo.
Yeah.
I saw on Twitter you, and tell me if I'm mischaracterizing this, but I think you took a little exception to Survivor Atlas's
yes, I did.
Money rankings.
That is correct.
You disagreed with them.
I did.
I want to give you an opportunity to kind of, how would you change them? Was this sort of a defensive, hey, my entry's actually worth more than that? Or
Yes.
did you see other issues with this? Go ahead and let us know what you would correct about this.
Yeah, so there was a couple. I found a couple issues with it. One, obviously, our own, but I think the problem with our own is I think people are underestimating how valuable Buffalo is next week because we got to take the second biggest favorite and we got to be an island. That's a massively plus EV pick, and we have some real scoop percentage. I'm not trying to say it's like 20% scoop, but we're going to scoop it 1.5-2% of the time there, which is worth a lot. And we won't even have to deal with the negativity of us having Commanders. So furthermore, I don't think Commanders are going to be that big of a dog on Christmas. We have pretty high confidence that Jaden Daniels will be back. And if he is, I don't see this being like significantly higher than a field goal. And I will admit, if I have a sim that's calculating basically what I value each entry at. If we change Commanders win probability from 30% to 40%, that's a massive difference, or vice versa. To like if you think Commanders are going to be like a 5.5-6 point underdog, which is possible, I guess, with Mariota, then I would unfortunately agree that we're one towards the bottom of the pack because it's really bad. But if it's what I think it's going to be, closer to 3 or even 2.5, I think we're one of the top 3 entries.
Wow, perfectly put. I think that's really interesting. And I asked one of our prior guests if he felt as though his low value was strictly based on Christmas. Yeah. And not having Dallas. But I think your point's extremely well taken about that line, perhaps being tighter than people may think 15 days out.
Yeah. Look, if you told me right now the line is 5.5, I cannot say in good faith that we have a top half entry. But if you say it's 3, I absolutely do think we have a top half entry.
There.
Chris, I know I asked this question to the last couple guys, but I want to get your take on this too. People are curious about the chop discussion. Yeah. As I said before, the very first comment when we logged in was something in reference to the chop. What can you tell us about your personal feelings about a chop in general, where you stand now, and how much progress you feel like is or isn't being made toward a chop?
Look, people have different motivations. As I said, I have confidence that our entry is above average right now, so I'm not interested in a fair chop. I would want more than what a fair face value chop would be. I have a value in mind. I don't really want to share that out because if I can get more, I'm happily going to take more. I'm not trying to lie to anyone here. But if you give me a fair or better, I'm happy to chop. I don't want to ride the variance for like millions of dollars. But if you give me less, I'm not. there's other ways to hedge. I can always hedge if I really felt that necessary. And I only have a third of this, so it's not as big for me as maybe others that have 100% of themselves.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of the comments that I see on Twitter are from people are like, this is crazy. It's $1.7 million. How can you? And I think people don't realize that there's often partners involved. Some people may have sold equity on Survivor Sweat, and now they actually only own 28% of their entry. And so it's not 1.7 to them. It's actually less because of those sort of things. So I'm glad you kind of brought that point up. Talk to me about your relationship with your partners. You're obviously doing a hell of a job because you guys won this thing last year and you've gotten really far this year.
They're even better. So they actually, their names are Cade and Corey. They actually won Survivor the first year. They were one of the 35.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like small money. I think it was $35,000 or $60,000. Forget, something like that. It was very small, which is still comparatively now.
Pre-Christmas, pre-Thanksgiving, even?
Yes.
Was there even okay.
They didn't. It was only 18 weeks. And then we didn't. This is our third year together as a team of 3. The first year, I think we busted like week 6 or whatever. Then the next year, we obviously made it all the way till the end. We actually had 2 entries all the way up until week 17, which is very exciting. And then this year, we're obviously down of 1 to 10. So we're very happy. We all think very similar to what Pete was mentioning. The only actually real disagreement we had at all this year was in Christmas. Sorry, not Christmas. In Thanksgiving, we were debating going Dallas or Bengals, and we actually could not decide if we were going Bengals or Cowboys. We had Philly available, but as everyone has kind of alluded to, we thought the EV was horrible there and much better when considering the future value of Philly going with Dallas and Cowboys. We'd already burned the Bears, and we could not decide, so we decided to do the simplest thing. RNG, Cowboys or flip a coin, I guess, Cowboys or Bengals, and we rolled on the Cowboys. Wow. Looking back to it, I wish we would have rolled on the Bengals.
Sure.
Of the Cowboys, but you live with those decisions.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Chris, on another show I was listening to, I can't remember which one, but someone threw out there a theoretical over-under for the number of teams that were going to be selected this week, and the number was 2.5. Well, we had a guest on a couple minutes ago who said he's going Jags, so we know it's going to be at least 3. Size up this week for me in terms of, is there any chance someone kind of there's a little surprise?
Man,
or
look, I know someone has the Bears available, and I know Houston's available. I hope they go because I think it would be horrible. I think when you have these 3 high win probability teams, even if you island yourself to the Bears and Houston, I think that's just a tremendously bad pick. I'm not projecting anyone to go other than the big 3. I hope they do it though, and tell me that I'm wrong, because I think it's a big mistake. And anytime they make a mistake, it only benefits me.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're thinking it's just going to be 3 teams selected, and how many on Jacksonville?
Jacksonville?
Yeah, we know one for sure, assuming that guy was telling the truth. Anybody else?
We have them projected around 3 right now.
Okay.
3. Now it might have gone up because of he just admitted to it. But like I said, he can always pivot off. I'm sure if he found out that like 4 other people were on Jacksonville, he might change his mind there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someone was thinking Jacksonville. They heard V's going to be on him, and now they're scaring him off. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, in this world of all these Zoom calls ever since COVID, and with respect, you look like a very young man, but it's like, it does not seem that difficult to get 10 parties. I know everyone's got partners, right? But we all got, this dude can speak for his party, if you will, right? It is fascinating. It's not that many folks to get in a room, if you will.
Yeah, no, that's true. But, you know, we were talking to some other entries, and we're like, we think we're going to San Fran if you want to share. They're like, no, and they don't want to. Yeah, and if also with Chop, if you're referring to chopping too, it's just like I think the real problem is like, how can I think someone like Juicy or Kick Your Knees Up or a Corsi, or even ourselves rather too, are some of the better entries. You know, a Corsi has Houston next week. They have Dallas available for Christmas. That's a very good entry. If you wanted to do a fair chop, I would be pretty shocked by it. You know, there's a lot of people who are in that same boat, and it's like, why would you want a fair chop? So, and then if other people are like, well, I think my entries are worth more, It's not even can you get everyone in the same room. It's can you get everyone to agree.
Yeah.
That's difficult when you're talking with millions of dollars. Not everyone can agree on the exact number.
Makes sense.
We got a question here from Stevie Pan. Has anybody ever won with one entry? Browna, I believe, had one entry in 2022. He was the first. I don't think there's been anybody since with one entry, but we could have the fact checker.
I think Jags did it. Did they not?
Oh, did they only have one as well? Wow.
I think they did. I could be way mistaken.
Okay.
I know the year after they won, they had they both, because the partners, they did 20, but I'm pretty sure that year they won, they only did one.
And Chris, this is why I love our show. We got people chiming in live, literal fact checkers. Remember, I asked the question, has anybody ever won back-to-back? We got an answer here. No, nobody's won back-to-back. And we don't think anybody's ever won twice.
Well, I know that's not true.
His partners have.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Good call. Good call. I think that first year kind of gets overlooked because there were so many winners that year, and it wasn't the high dollar value, $1 million checks and stuff. Right. So I think that year kind of gets.
I've got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
How much equity do you need to be considered a winner? Because if I went out and bought at this point 1% of a couple entries.
Yep.
Am I a win? Am I a two-time?
You're gonna get a blue jacket because you bought 2% on the Survivor Sweat marketplace in week 16.
Exactly. I think no.
Yeah, you know what? We should, and Jason, we're kind of an authority in this Survivor space now. Maybe you and I should just throw out there a percentage that's a fair number where you're allowed to call yourself a champion. I think a key piece has to be you were a part of that ride from the start of the season. I don't think if you buy in later after week 1, I personally don't think you should.
Then I got a different question for you because
okay.
I don't know. We last year made one of the biggest purchases on Survivor Sweat. We bought the entry last year that had only the Bears available for Christmas. And if that had won, would we not have counted? Would that be not a good a winning? I don't care.
In that scenario,
I got a different
you
opinion.
used it as a hedge, right? You used it as a hedge. You're saying
something like that, yeah.
Oh, that's different. That's different. Yeah.
Well, we're not talking everybody getting a jacket, right? But here's how I feel about it, right? If you get 1% and you hop on that bandwagon, right? If you play a couple games for that squad and you get a ring, to me, the more the merrier to a certain extent. I know where you guys are getting at, right? But it's if you find your way onto that train and you increase and you make a profit, somewhat significant, regardless of that percentage, this thing's getting big enough that I'm not going to be mad at anyone who found a way to buy a small percentage of the winning entry.
Yeah. So we got some criteria. I heard you say, Jason, you got to have a profit. I like the idea of the week 1 thing, but Chris threw a little curveball at me that I hadn't considered. So we'll come up with some criteria.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody will listen to it. They'll call themselves.
I don't really care if people call themselves winners. It's not like I have this
right
affinity to. I care more about the money than my bank account than I do the actual blue jacket.
That makes sense. Absolutely, Chris. Anything you want to add here before we let you go? You've been a great guest. We really appreciate you.
No, it was a good show. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. We'd love to have you on again.
Man.
We appreciate you. And best of luck this week and beyond. All right. Good stuff there. Jason, that was phenomenal. Back-to-back guests. I think my favorite part of that whole thing was when our second guest called out V, and he's like, he might not actually be doing it. I need to consider that. And, V seemed like a very trustworthy guy. I think he is going Jacksonville. But it's a nice reminder that when there's that much money on the line, you can't take things at face value and you have to consider all the angles.
No question. When they started talking, especially Chris at the end, I'm saying, wow, is this the first time someone's come on a podcast I'm on and just lied right through their teeth to my face, right? Is that what's happening here? Because, you just don't know. But there are a lot of ways to get in, and certainly there's some luck involved, you can be sure. Fascinated by the EV component, because certainly you were aware of that, as others were. Football games are fascinating. A lot of turnovers, a lot of different things could happen to make people look smart. And I'm not saying we had 3 sharp guys. Don't take that the wrong way, but a lot more to get to tonight, Mr. Farmer.
Absolutely. Let's jump into it, man. Let's jump into it with this Thursday night game. As Chris said, I don't think this is going to have any Circa Survivor implications.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but before we do hop right into the projections, let's just quickly hear a word from Splash, and let me tell you about our contest last week. So let's hear a word from our friends over at Splash real quick.
I'm not looking forward to that, Jason.
Sports fans, don't miss out on the action right now at splashsports.com. Join leagues and enter massive contests with guaranteed multi-million-dollar prizes. Splash Sports brings the contest experiences straight to your phone in over 40 states with even more ways to play, compete, and win all season long. Finally, a way to play the games we know you love against your friends for real money. So get in the game and download now on iOS or Android, or play on the web at splashsports.com.
Said I'm not looking forward to this discussion. I need a dunce cap, Jason. I know what this conversation is going to be about.
So I'm actually very excited to talk about Splash tonight because we were eliminated from the Splash 2,500 touchdown survivor that began in week 11. We went with George Pickens on Thursday night, and at Detroit, he was, it was interesting. He's catching a lot of
Tony went with George Pickens. I'm the reason we lost.
Well, the only thing that I'll say, Tony, is that we wanted a little juice on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. The only thing I combated slightly was just these plus 105. We had Josh Allen and others available to us, but it is what it is. And I think, what really is a theme. And even if we're talking in terms of the conversations tonight about the Bears, EV, and Philly on Thanksgiving, right? The theme to me is that there's some luck involved in this stuff and being on an island. So Pickens to me was a little bit of being on an island. Was it not, Tone?
Yeah, and it was also against a bad Detroit secondary that is, I believe, second in the league at allowing touchdowns to wide receivers. So it wasn't just about the Thursday night vibes, but in addition to that, I thought it was a good matchup too.
Yep. All right, so before we get to the projections, I just want to talk to you about Splash. Little teaser, because we're going to get into this at the end. But there's a lot of opportunities to get into contests over there if you've been eliminated in Circa or anywhere else. And the thing I like, Tony, when you and I get eliminated, we jump right back in the game. So we're going to be back in the game. I'll let you know more specifics later. But I do everything on the app, by the way. It's just fast, but they have multiple NFL and college football contests right now. NFL pick'ems that are live, NFL tiers, but the college football playoff survivor, which is fun. I think some of them you're picking two teams per week, but a lot of pick'ems. I enrolled us in 3 that I'll tell you about at the end, but a lot going on over at Splash. And for those that have been eliminated, couldn't be a better place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, by the way, when it comes to the college ones, I'm excited about that contest, but I'm going to need you to drive, man. I'm not a college guy. I'm more a pro guy. So you're going to be very much in charge of that one. Oh
yeah. We're going to find, I host another show with Andy Gresh, who loves college football, and he seems to have some feels right now. So yeah, we got some sources. Joe Fortenbaugh, old friend, we'll hit him up.
Love it.
So we'll be good. So take us away, Mr. Farmer.
All right, Thursday night football, Falcons, Bucks. Falcons have lost 7 of their last 8 games. Bucks have lost 5 of their last 7, so both of these two teams need a win bad. The Bucks won this game in week 1, 23-20. But if you remember, Jason, the feeling that I had after that game was that the Bucks didn't deserve to win. The Falcons had more yards. The Falcons had more yards per play. They had more first downs. They had 10 more minutes of time of possession. I feel like the Bucks kind of lucked into a win that week. And Atlanta's 4-2 straight up, 4-2 ATS in their last 6 against Tampa Bay. They play Tampa Bay really tough. However, on the bright side for Tampa, it's the return of Mike Evans. For what it's worth, he had 5 catches, 51 yards in that matchup week 1. This is the first game ever, Jason, believe it or not, that Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Emeka Egbuka have been on the field at the same time. And the Bucks get Jalen McMillan back. I think Baker Mayfield's got to be the happiest guy in the world, knowing that he finally has a fully healthy wide receiver core. And with that trio, Evans, Godwin, and Egbuka, is that the best trio, like when healthy? Is there a better one in the NFL? That's a pretty scary unit if I'm a defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they got to put it on paper. Egbuka, one got it off his paws he would have liked to have last week. I'm sure those 28 folks who went down on the Bucks might not love that receiving core that much. Would have liked Mike Evans to play last week. But, Baker's banged up. And, I feel like we're going to be pulling up the Survivor rainbow image all week to see how many people have the Bucks available, Tony, right? Several do. It looks like maybe there are only 2 that are on the Bucks. I got my little screen there. But, yeah, the Mike Evans angle is huge. I just feel like they would have absolutely found a way to win last week if Mike Evans had walked through that door. But there could potentially be a way to be on an island here with Tampa a little bit. Your point, they've lost 4 against 5, but their backs against the wall here. Next 2 games on the road, 2 or 3 down the stretch against Carolina, who's still in the mix here. So now I feel like all I got to look at is fucking EV all day, but I think it's a pretty decent spot for the Buccaneers, and you may find yourself on an island.
I think for people that are in splash pools, for people that are in double pick pools, I think the Bucks are maybe an option to consider here. In Circa Survivor, I don't think you can do it because you can find yourself on an island with a team with higher win probability. So I don't think anybody will be taking them seriously. But somebody in Circa, at least, somebody chimes in and says, am I crazy enough to take the Bucks in one of the pools I'm still alive in? No one will be on the Bucks in a bounce back spot. I need to know a little bit more of the details about your pool. And I'll just say, just be aware that the Falcons play the Bucks incredibly tough, including week 1 this season. So FYI on that. But the Bucks are getting healthy at the right time. Tristan Wirfs didn't play last week. He's going to be back this week. I already mentioned Evans. I like that the Bucks are getting healthier. And with the Panthers, I don't think they're a serious threat, but they are a threat in the division. And the Bucks do have a little extra motivation with the Panthers nipping at their heels here.
And Falcons, your points are extremely well taken. And all the gentlemen on the show tonight would agree with you. But I do think perhaps this could be an absolute blowout. Falcons do a lot last week at home against Seattle. Like this Seattle team, if I was on that roster, I'd certainly be peeking at those vacation plans. So, I'd be very, very surprised if I wake up Monday morning and the Buccaneers have lost this game. I may peek at them -4.5. And, you talk about scoops. Anyone wants to get aggressive, but your points are well taken. I'm having a little bit of fun.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Buffalo Bills against your New England Patriots. Maybe a little bit of a revenge game here. Before I talk about, first of all, let me go through this. 4 people have the Patriots left. Dylan, Gary, Juicy Coochie, that is their name, by the way, and Parts, who we just had on the show. Those 4 have New England left. Obviously, not going to use them in this spot here, but nice to have them in their back pocket. One person, Chris, who was just on the show, has Buffalo left. Again, he already said he's not using them in this spot. But for people in other pools, we can still talk about this game. My question for you, Jason, is there a chance that the Bills just kind of overlooked the Patriots earlier this season, didn't take them that seriously because they were used to dominating the AFC East, and now the Bills are going to be not caught off guard by the Patriots, and the Bills might lay the wood on New England here? Is there a world where that could happen?
I think there's definitely a world where they could lay the wood, but I don't think it's because they overlooked them back in the day. The Bills have been a little funky this year. Defense isn't that good, right? Patriots are a better football team if Patriots want to show up and defend their home field, and hopefully as a 1.5 underdog. It says -1.5. They're the dog. They're +1.5 at home. So for me, Tony, I don't think Buffalo took them lightly. I still don't know how good Buffalo is. If you're asking me right in this moment to name my AFC champion, I don't know, Tony. Is it Buffalo? Is it Houston? I don't know. I mean, I think Buffalo has a great chance to get some revenge here against New England, and I think they're designated a favorite for a reason, but I still don't know how good they are. And obviously from Survivor standpoint, you're not going to go near this game. Future value on, Buffalo, or it's at Cleveland. There it is in front of you. So, or that's a Patriot schedule, but even Buffalo, right? They're at Cleveland and next week, home to the Jets in week 18. And I feel as though this year, and perhaps in both conferences, there are going to be a lot of teams that need to win every game through the season, and there aren't going to be too many trap spots. So looking ahead to week 17, you said when we did the show on Radio Row, week 17 and 18, you don't even think about. But you've talked a lot about week 17 and 18 on the show with good reason. So I think a lot of those games are going to stand up and be what we thought they would be when we get there.
I like this question here. In what scenario would the Bills be resting starters in week 18? If we had more time with Chris, because he's the only guy in Circa Survivor that still has the Bills available, I had a question for him about, did it ever cross your mind to save Buffalo for week 18 as a 2-touchdown favorite against the Jets? Because that is an ideal hedging spot. Maybe move the Niners over to the game against the Colts now that Daniel Jones is out, and then save the Bills for the last week. I'm not saying this is a better idea than what he has. He's obviously thought about it way more than me, but I was curious if the thought had at least crossed his mind. Now, going back to the question here from Sterling, what is that scenario? It looks like the Bills are going to be locked into a wild card spot. And it looks like there may be a difference between, say, I don't know, a 5 and a 6 seed, right? And if they know they're going to be a road team either way, or a scenario where whether they win or lose, they're still going to be that same seed, they may not care about the difference between a 6 or a 7 seed or a 5 and a 6 if it's going to be a road game no matter what. So that is sort of the scenario that if you were in your pools to want to save Buffalo for the last week, that you would not want to see is an unmotivated Bills team that last week. But gosh, the Bills backups against the Jets starters, the Bills might still win that game, and it is a great hedge spot.
Well, but I think when talking scenarios, Tony, it's not singular. There's lots of scenarios. And I think the Bills probably are that sort of number one wild card right now. And if they do beat the Patriots, they still may be in that number one wild card slot. But they may want to lose to give themselves a better opponent. They certainly maybe just want to simply be giving themselves a bye week because they know they're going to play a tough game no matter what it is the following week. So I think it's a little too early to know too many scenarios. But if there was a team right now in the AFC that I had to name right now, Tony, that might not have to play for something week 18, Buffalo might be at the top of the list because I think that AFC South is going to be very competitive. And I think potentially the Patriots could lock up this division and the Bills could be floating. So it's a very interesting question, TBD for a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this game, Josh Allen might have had the best game of his season last week. I mean, week 1, he put up almost 400 yards, so maybe that was his best game. But he looked really good last week. He looked like an MVP last week. I don't think he's going to win it because I think Stafford will. But he's getting hot at the right time for Buffalo. Moving on here, we've got Ravens-Bengals, a matchup of that Thanksgiving game that we talked about so much. And that Thanksgiving game was without T. Higgins, without Trey Hendrickson. Higgins has had 2 concussions now in the last 3 weeks, limited at practice today, which I was kind of surprised to see. I'll be surprised if they play Higgins with these 2 concussions now in the last 3 weeks. Shamar Stewart, pass rusher for Cincinnati, is expected to be back in this game, so that helps him. Lamar missed practice today, but don't worry about that. He's going to play on Sunday. Your thoughts here? Obviously not a Circa Survivor angle, but Jason, speak to those people who are in non-Circa pools. Could you trust either team in maybe a double pick league or something like that?
Definitely not. But I have to stop on T. Higgins because you and I feel the same way about concussions. What is he doing at practice? What is he even doing at practice after back-to-back concussions? Came back too soon, had a great game, but what are we doing here? With all the information we know, Junior Seau and otherwise, like we don't know what we don't know. Anyway, but I do think in terms of this Cincinnati team, nothing really to say about this particular game. I think it's a coin flip, but this Cincinnati team, we talked earlier about Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin putting up numbers. I do think Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow down the stretch may be a team that is going to try and put a good football game together. They finish, I got their schedule in front of me here, but it's, obviously this game, but then at Miami, then home to Arizona and Cleveland. So I think there could potentially be some, where Joe Burrow certainly wanting to put some good film together. So that was my only take there, along with the T. Higgins.
I say this in jest. If that happens and the Bengals say win the division, by the way, if they beat the Ravens here, they'll have the tiebreaker because they'll have beat them twice. Give Joe Burrow the comeback player of the year award this year for coming back this year.
Well, and how close were they to beating Buffalo and changing the whole picture on the Bills Patriots game? Even you're up 10 points, and those turnovers. I don't want to say good on the Bills. I talk about their defense. Well, they certainly stepped up when they needed to there.
Yeah, that was an intense game. Jets Jaguars. Jaguars almost 2 touchdown favorites here. Huge Circa Survivor implications, as we've already talked about. We had V on the show earlier. He says they're going Jacksonville. 6 people have Jacksonville available in Circa Survivor. And as I said earlier, that Daniel Jones injury making the Colts a lot weaker. I think you'd agree with me. The Colts are sort of a fading team. As you said, even before the Daniel Jones injury, they were a fading team. So this Jaguars team has the Jets, Colts, and Titans still left. I'd argue the Jaguars are one of the most important teams to still own in Circa Survivor. They've won 4 in a row. They've also won 5 of their last 6. The Jets have lost 3 of their last 4. They're coming off that ugly loss, 34-10 against the Dolphins. You know what I'd like to see out of this Jacksonville team before I really start to believe in them? I'd like to see some semblance of a running game. I know Travis Etienne had 2 touchdowns last week, but he's had less than 4 yards per carry in 5 of his last 6 games. If this Jaguars team could get a running game like Liam Cohen had when he was in Tampa Bay, I'd have a lot more faith in this team, especially with, cold weather. You need a running game in the playoffs. The running game's a little more important. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I'd really like to see them get that going. And the last thing I want to say before I turn it over to you on this game, there was a game last year where Liam Cohen and Aaron Glenn faced each other. Aaron Glenn was the defensive coordinator for the Lions. Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator for the Bucs. For what it's worth, the Bucs won that game 20-16, but Glenn's defense kind of held the Bucs in check. No Tampa Bay running back had more than 22 yards in that game. Baker Mayfield, a ho-hum 185 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception. I know there's different personnel involved in this game, but I did think that was worth mentioning that Aaron Glenn did a pretty good job bottling Liam Cohen's offense up last year.
Good stuff all around. You know, when you talk about personnel, right? The quarterback position for the Jets, pretty important position. Both banged up. Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, whoever starts. I mean, it's one of those Monday morning and you wake up and Jacksonville will have lost. And, you know, sitting at 9-4, you talked about winning 4 straight, but they had a stretch this season where they lost 3 of 4. They traded for Jacoby Myers. A lot of folks question that. That's worked out well. You know, Travis Hunter's out for the year. So I think a lot going well for Jacksonville. I don't see any hiccup here. So ultimately, your points about the future value very well taken, but a lot of folks want to get through this week, so certainly I would peek at them, but it's fascinating. But they ain't losing that football game. I just don't see it with the Jets. I don't think they got the roster now to compete for Aaron Glenn the way they want to.
Yeah, I'd be pretty shocked if the Jets won this game. Which Trevor Lawrence are you going to get, though? Are you going to get the Trevor Lawrence who didn't throw an interception the last 2 weeks, or are you going to get the Trevor Lawrence that threw 3 interceptions against Arizona? Some of them are pretty ugly.
Yeah.
I still have trust issues with Trevor Lawrence in terms of betting. I don't trust the guy at all. These friggin' red zone interceptions that he throws are just mind-boggling and frustrating.
And you know what, Tony? Yes, I agree with you. And I hate to say this because I don't know him, but I feel like he could be the type of guy to take the Jets lightly, right? Oh, I've had a couple clean games, let the lettuce flow, push that hair back behind my ears and, throw a pick 6 to a no-name. I don't know. Your point's well taken, man. He scares me too.
Good stuff. All right, let's go ahead and throw it over to our friends over at Survivor Sweat for a quick little commercial.
If you're in Circa Survivor, you have to go to the marketplace at survivorsweat.com. You can shop for entries that other people have registered or sell a percentage of your entry. Get knocked out early and suffering from FOMO? Head over to survivorsweat.com today and see which entries are available for sale.
Jason, that marketplace is happening right now. We talked to James last Saturday. He said there are still moves being made on the marketplace, people buying smaller percentages, of course, when the implied value is this much, but people are still making moves right now at this point.
It really is fascinating to me how interesting this contest remains. And it was so few days ago that you were in the VSiN studio talking about the potential of many entries sharing this. And we sit here, hundreds. Right? We sit here with 10 to go, just absolutely stacked, but it couldn't be more interesting. And Tony, it has shaped the way I watch this league. And I don't know how I feel about that, if I'm being honest with you. It has shaped the way I bet on this league. It's just shaped everything about the way I look at this league. So maybe, I feel like next year you're going to see me. I'm going to be living on Tony's couch. Everyone's going to be like, what is going on? Anyway. Sorry.
I love it. Next game up, we've got Chargers, Chiefs. One guy left. Gary A. has Kansas City available. I obviously do not think he's using Kansas City in this spot, not just because there's teams where he can be on an island with higher win probabilities, but because Kansas City is a nice play on Christmas since nobody else has them. But Kansas City is also a nice play. Gary A might fire away on the Chiefs against the Titans the week before Christmas, week 16. So don't think there's going to be any Circa Survivor implications for this game, but for folks that are in other pools, just beware that the Chiefs, it looks like, are going to be without their starting left tackle and their starting right tackle again. Their backup swing tackle, Jalen Moore, is good. He's above average, big free agent that they brought in, but he can only play one. He can't play both. Yeah. So we saw the pressure that Patrick Mahomes was under last week. Sacked twice, threw 3 interceptions, 14 of 33, very Patrick Mahomes-like. Jason, for me, this is going to be a fun game to watch. I'm not betting it, and no thanks in Survivor pools.
What do you feel about the 4.5 point betting spread? To put you on the spot in terms of the line, I thought it'd be a little closer to 3.5. If I'm being honest, I like this Chargers team.
It seems a little high, and if you put a gun to my head, I would take the 4.5 with the Chargers. But with that Chargers offensive line banged up and the Chiefs like we've said this before, Chiefs are in desperation mode. They need this game. This is the ultimate back against the wall. So it scares me a little bit. about fading the Chiefs here.
Well, quickly, I'll say, in this other show I do where I pick in games against the spread, I took the Chargers plus 4.5. Chiefs have lost 5 straight against the spread. You brought up Mahomes last week, but Kelsey feels like he hasn't been connected. It feels like, their chances to make the postseason, you go look, the odds aren't good. But Justin Herbert, when they beat the Chiefs week 1, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, you may have alluded to that. But last week, the Chargers possessed the ball for 38 minutes of a possible 60 against Philadelphia. So for me, I think it maybe not be as many field goals this week for the Chargers. I think the Chiefs are going to be up against it trying to win a football game against a good team all season. So yeah, no thanks, Circa Survivor.
Same page there. Cardinals, Texans. Another one that might have some Circa Survivor implications. There's a chance someone could take the Texans here in a scoop type scenario. It is absolutely possible. 3 people have the Texans left: a Corsi, Real Bro, and Kick Your Knees. Those are the 3 entries that could take the Texans here. Jason, I think the Texans are going to win this game. I feel comfortable about the matchup. The only thing is I like the Texans better next week against the Raiders when there's a few less options available. But the reason that I like the Texans so much, just from an X's and O's standpoint, Cardinals 27th best offensive line per Pro Football Focus.
Yes.
Without Paris Johnson, this Texans defense, we saw what they did against an inferior Chiefs offensive line. I think it's going to be a similar type situation where this Texans defense, the front especially, is going to be able to feast a bit. And I think the Texans are really safe. If I had the Texans in Circa Survivor, I say I'd strongly consider it, Jason. Well, we're going to talk about the Eagles game later, and because I have concerns about the Eagles, I might actually... It's easy for me to say when I don't have a $1.7 million entry, right? But I really would at least give strong consideration to the Texans here.
I could not agree with you more, Tony. And you heard Chris say, I hope people will be on Houston. But with respect, you don't know with what veracity he's speaking with. You know what I mean? Talking about the Houston Texans. And you talk about the offensive line with Arizona. The whole offense is decimated. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. questionable. Everybody else is bagged up. The backfield's in shambles. And Jacoby Brissett, right? Last week they lose 45-17 to the Rams. Talk about a team plan and vacation. I think this could be like the big blowout on the board this week. So I would feel pretty good about myself if I had the Texans and I checked that box.
I mean, let's play this out. We know there's going to be at least one person on the Jaguars. That was announced on our show. And we know everybody has San Francisco or Philadelphia available. So if the spread came out something like this, 1 Jacksonville, 1 Houston, 5 Philly, 3 San Fran, like if that were to happen and you have the Texans, you got to be feeling pretty good. You got to like that spread, knowing that the Eagles, who, by the way, are on a short week, just coming off an overtime game, have lost 3 in a row, could go down.
Yeah. So leave it there, if you don't mind, Mike.
Yeah.
So V, who was on the show, right? That's Bradley 1, who is going Jacksonville this week, right? So he obviously doesn't have that option. I'm just sort of taking a peek. See, Tony, over under 3.5 hours you've looked at this document. I've looked at least over an hour at this document. And shout out the color coding. It really helps. It's fascinating.
Shout out to the folks over at Survivor Atlas. That's who we can thank for that. They're awesome.
Thank you.
Next game up, Cleveland Browns, Chicago Bears. Kick Your Knees Up is the only person who could use the Bears in this spot. I guess there's a world in which he does, to be on an island. I would still be very surprised if he were to use them in this spot. But I did hear, a comment, someone wondering, hey, you think this guy's going to fire away on Chicago? I don't think so, but it's theoretical possible. It's got to be in the back of your mind if you're one of these other competitors here. Jason, are you a believer in this Bears team yet? They won 9 of their last 11 games. Some of those early wins weren't very impressive, but at some point you've got to say, hey, at least give this team credit for winning these close games. You like the Chicago team?
I do. And they completely outplayed Green Bay in the second half of that game. I mean, those drives in the second half last week at Green Bay, I know they lost the game, but 10 plays, 64 yards, touchdown, 7 plays, 37 yards, field goal, then 17 plays, 83 yards, 8-minute drive, touchdown. And then other than the pick six in the end zone, pretty good game out of Caleb Williams. So I just think they don't play with their food here. You got Green Bay coming to Chicago the next week. Myles Garrett scares me, but I think Ben Johnson can figure some things out there. So I love the Bears in this spot. 3-1 against the spread as the favorite. They play well when I think it's I don't think they've been this big a favorite at Soldier Field, I think since like 2020. I love the Bears in this spot. And certainly it's an opportunity to be on an island.
Absolutely. Good stuff from you there. Let's move on to Commanders, Giants. You know how we have the 10-foot pole game of the week?
Yeah.
We need a puke bucket game of the week in terms of the game that you just don't even want to watch. You don't want it for Circa Survivor. You don't want it for any Survivor pools. You don't even necessarily want to bet it. This is my puke bucket game of the week. We're going to need Mike to come up with a graphic for that. The Giants, for what it's worth, did beat the Commanders 21-6 in week 1. These teams look totally different, though. That's back when Malik Neighbors was playing. Russell Wilson was still at quarterback. Jaden Daniels was in at quarterback for Washington. This Commanders team has lost 8 straight. The Giants have lost 7 straight. I do think, and you tell me if you disagree, I do think the Giants have shown a little bit more signs of life, even though they're both on long losing streaks. The Giants have had 1-score losses to the Broncos, Bears, Lions, and Packers, all playoff teams, potential playoff teams. And so for that reason alone, if you forced me to bet this game with your money, Jason, I would take the Giants, but I have no interest in it. And I'm certain even people in non-Circa Survivor pools aren't really interested in this either.
I agree. And I also don't think Kafka is going to be the long-term future there. Like if Brian Dable was still there, I might really look at the Giants in this spot, but my notes say nothing to say. Sorry. I also wrote sorry for Commanders fans. Tough season. Because really, really tough to play in the championship game. And then as the oldest team in the National Football League sort of fall on your face like they have. It's tough.
Yeah. I mean, they bring in Deebo Samuel. So you're getting excited. You got one of the best young quarterbacks in the league who actually played decent in the playoffs last year. And you're like, wow, what a great foundation. The puke. That was quick. We got a puke bucket graphic already. Nice work, Mike. I like it. Raiders, Eagles. This is the big one, Jason, for Circa Survivor, because everybody besides a Corsi has the Eagles available. Now, some of these people have the Eagles and the 49ers available. Those people have a choice.
Yep.
But this is the game that's going to be on 9 of the 10 people's minds. They have to at least consider firing away here with the Eagles. And I'm not going to say with conviction that the Raiders are going to beat the Eagles Sunday, okay? But I am going to say this. The check engine light is on for this Eagles team. This Eagles team has lost 3 straight. Jalen Hurts has thrown 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in his last 5 games. This Eagles team may have some locker room drama. It's kind of been whispering all season long. And what do we know about winning, Jason? Don't they say winning is a good deodorant for locker room problems? Well, now you had some hints of some smells in that locker room, and now you've lost 3 straight. I think this team could be ready to implode. And if I was planning on using the Eagles this week in Circa Survivor, I would not like the fact that the Eagles just played an overtime game on a short week. That's not what I wanted to see. So I'm not trying to scare people off the Eagles, especially in Circa Survivor. I don't want that kind of guilt on my mind. I don't think people are going to necessarily, they've gotten this far. I don't think they're jumping off the Eagles because of what I have to say. But if you're in other pools out there, I'd be a little cautious of the Eagles. There are some red flags. This is the kind of game that if the Eagles did lose, you'd look back and say, yeah, there were some red flags. I could have seen this coming. So just be careful.
It's so interesting, Tony. Like I want to take this phrase out of my vernacular, like bounce back, right? Do the Eagles bounce back? What does that even mean? After losing 3 straight at 8-5, they're going to need to win a game on the West Coast to get to the Super Bowl, to get to that Super Bowl on the West Coast. Not going to be a snow game against the Rams that they would have won. I just think this Philly team, this Buffalo team, Buffalo 9-4, Philly 8-5. And I like Buffalo. Don't get me wrong. I think they're probably going to go to 10-4, but some of these teams just aren't as good as we can't just keep anointing them because of what they were previous years. Chiefs fall in this category, Ravens. So to me, I share that same scare on the Eagles. But as you look at their schedule, if you have them available, right? They have 2 against Washington, the next 2 on the road, right? At Buffalo, you're certainly not going to use them there. And Washington, if it's Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, you never know. Philly's not an explosive, well, they are an explosive offense, but not a consistent offense. So you never know. So for me, it does appear to be one of those smoke them if you got them opportunities on Philly, because I don't think the fall from grace goes that far to losing to the second worst team in football, or maybe the worst.
Yeah, I'm going to say one more thing that gives me a little bit of hope about the Raiders in this spot. Kenny Pickett, 8 of 11, 97 yards and a touchdown last week. I know Kenny Pickett is not a Pro Bowler. I'm probably going to sound silly for talking Kenny Pickett up, but he's a free agent next year. Okay? These next couple games for him could mean the difference in $3-4 million in a contract. You're going to get a motivated Kenny Pickett. He's studying the playbook right now. I promise you. He's looking at tape right now, trying to get an edge. And as someone who's gone out in Circa Survivor against Drew Lock on a deep run in week 17 last year, as someone who's lost to Jake Browning in Circa Survivor, Kenny Pickett kind of fits the Drew Lock, Jake Browning mold.
Yes, he
Someone
does.
that's going to be the turd in the punch bowl and ruin your Circa Survivor season. So there's some red flags on this game.
And
you know
Max
what?
Crosby's always a red flag. Go ahead.
I'm saying the Eagles could win this game by 24, and I'm going to look silly for even putting these concerns out there. But intuitively, I got a bad feeling about this Eagles game. I'll just leave it at that.
I love hearing it. That closes out the book on the 1 o'clock games. Let's get to a spot from our favorite folks, the Ponies, Race Oracle. Attention racing fans. If you want an edge at the track, you need Race Oracle. This subscription service uses advanced AI modeling built on over 200,000 historical races, crunching hundreds of data points from weather and track conditions to jockey history and speed ratings. Race Oracle gives you proprietary win percentages, Kelly betting strategies, and live odds tracking, covering every race in North America, plus the UK and Ireland, so you can bet around the clock with confidence. Don't guess, predict smarter. Subscribe today and start betting with data, not luck. Just got to be fascinating to try to determine how much you think your entry is worth. You know, it doesn't surprise me. Imagine some of these conversations, unless it's an equal chop. I know you got a lot of sharp math guys, but you know what I mean? Like, pretty tough to get to something that's going to make someone feel good if they're taking less. And a lot of circumstances. Do you put how many partners you share it with? So
yeah,
not going to be surprised. Didn't you put it out early? No chop early in the week, you said, right?
Yeah. I had gotten some information. I'm talking to a lot of these guys directly because I'm trying to connect them and that sort of stuff. So I got some information that it wasn't happening. So I said I was extremely certain there wasn't going to be a chop. Maybe next week, though. Maybe if some of the folks that are holdouts on the chop get knocked out, it's certainly possible that we see a chop next week. We'll see. Next game up here, Colts, Seattle. Rain likely in this game. Nobody has Seattle or Indy available in Circa Survivor, so 0 implications for this contest. But as I keep saying, there are folks watching this show who might be considering Seattle for another pool. So I do want to talk about a little bit with you. As we've already said, this Colts team looked lifeless without Daniel Jones, and they were kind of trending in that direction even before Daniel Jones got hurt. Would you trust Seattle in a Survivor pool against the Colts this week?
Oh, yeah, against Phil Rivers, Brett Rippon, or Riley Leonard? Absolutely. and you have a Seattle team that has a lot to play for. So absolutely, yeah, didn't do a ton of homework given the Circa implications. But, yeah, certainly trust the Seahawks. Amazing how fadeable the Colts have become. And it's not just the quarterback position. They've sort of tailed off on the defensive end as well. Sauce Gardner out. That doesn't help either.
Yeah, maybe a little splash sports implication for Seattle.
Yes, sir.
Later, we'll talk about that. Packers, Broncos. Packers, a little bit of a favorite here. Nobody has Denver or Green Bay available in Circa Survivor, so we'll keep this one kind of short. And Jason, anyways, this is the 10-foot pole game of the week for me. Fun game to watch. It's one of those games where we say, I would love to watch it from an NFL fan perspective, but no thanks from a Survivor pool perspective. The Packers have let people down this year against the Panthers, against the Cowboys, the tie that loses, right? Against the Browns. I know they've won 4 straight, but I still have trust issues with this Green Bay team. They're just very inconsistent. Hopefully, for Packers fans' sake, they can keep this train rolling head into the playoffs hot on a 5, 6, 7 game win streak, something like that. But they need to prove it to me first. I wouldn't trust them in this spot here against the Broncos, and I wouldn't trust the Broncos either.
I agree. And the Packers, we alluded to earlier on the show, didn't look good, certainly defensively in the second half against Chicago Bears, doing whatever they want, literally on every play. But I think what's interesting about this game to me, besides it being a great game, is that I believe the winner of this game, in my mind, really does emerge as a true Super Bowl contender. You know, the Broncos have been winning, but doing it a little bit uglier, not as impressive as the New England Patriots. But if you get through Green Bay at home here playing good football, that may really, certainly going to go a long way to helping you solidify the 1 seed. But also to me, I think it really solidifies them. And I'll say the same thing about the Packers in a very difficult and different NFC. I feel as though if they get through on the road in a very tough place to play against a tough defense, good opportunity for Jordan Love to maybe grow a little bit, they become not only like a capable contender, but a real Super Bowl contender.
Very good point. Very, very, very good point. This is going to be sort of a measuring stick match for both of these teams for sure. Next up, Titans, 49ers, massive Circa Survivor implications here. 6 have the 49ers available. Juicy Coochie, Akorsi, Bradley, C3, Caveman, and Dylan. Those are the 6 that can use the 49ers here off a bye. Team that was already getting healthier now is also off a bye. I think they're going to crush the Titans in this spot, Jason. It's the NFL, anything can happen, but I really don't have concerns about the 49ers losing this game. But I'm going to say what I said at the start of the show. The Daniel Jones injury makes me look at the 49ers in survivor pools next week against the Colts. 6.5 on the look ahead line. Not just because Daniel Jones was out, because Jason, this was a game for Circa Survivor purposes, believe it or not, that I had circled to use the 49ers before week 1. And because I felt like it was a spot, if I was still alive in Circa Survivor, that nobody else, and of course we'd think there'd be more than 10 at this point, right? But nobody else would be on them. And of course, I didn't know the Colts were going to be as good as they were. But what I liked from a sort of personnel standpoint, from a ball knowledge standpoint, is that Gus Bradley was the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator the last 3 years in Indy. He's now an assistant on the 49ers staff. So he knows the weaknesses of the defense. He knows what these guys do well and what they don't do well. Okay. He knows some of the weaknesses of the Colts offensive line, for instance, because he's coached against those guys in practice. He knows what they want to see and what they don't like to see. He knows the kind of blitzes that confuse the offensive line. I like the 49ers next week because I like the 49ers next week in non-Circa Survivor pools that I'm in. I'm saving the Niners for next week against the Colts so that I can be on a little bit more of an island this week. So if I had the 49ers and Jaguars, for instance, in Circa Survivor, I might consider Jacksonville this week or even a Houston, Niners next week, as much as I like the Niners this week as well.
Great stuff. And I won't even add to that, but just indulge me for a second, Tony. You're a 49ers fan. I understand the best 2 teams in football right now you're looking up at in your own division with Seattle and the LA Rams. So is there any part of you that would even crack the door to think that maybe there could be a magical run for this squad?
Yeah, because the and this isn't a homer talking right now.
I know.
I really, the end of their schedule is soft. And I mean, there's even a world where they could win the NFC West. I think it's like plus 550 odds for them to win the NFC West. Like that's not that crazy of a thought. And let me just put this, we're getting a little off subject from Survivor.
We'll be fast though.
Fred Warner could be back in the playoffs.
No way.
Yes. His timetable, they're saying first round is a stretch. Second round, divisional, or NFC championship game, if the 49ers could make it that far, you could see Fred Warner back on this defense that's sort of staying afloat right now.
Yes.
They just signed a linebacker as well, Kendricks. And so I think this Niner team really could go on a little bit of a run here. I mean, look at
And no, I just want to chime in here because, there are different ways to do it. They've been a front runner and maybe they can do it in a year when they're not the front runner. The Patriots went 10 years between Super Bowls. And my wife said something really interesting to me the other day because I was talking about the Patriots being the best team in football this year. And she said, well, they never win the Super Bowl when they're the best team in football, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to make that funky run. So you never know. Maybe San Francisco does it in a year where they're sort of laying back in the cut behind those 2 juggernauts above them.
Yeah, and who in the NFC really scares you, right? Probably the Rams. The Niners already have a big upset underdog win against the Rams earlier. And by the way, Shanahan plays McVay really tough. So
Yep.
if the playoffs were to start right now, 49ers, I believe, would go on the road to Philadelphia. That game doesn't scare me that much.
I agree.
You know
I
what
agree.
I'm saying? So, yeah, I think the Niners could go on a run here. But, yeah, just keep in mind the Niners versus Colts implications. Maybe you guys disagree with me, but I really like the Niners next week a lot in that game, even better. Next up, Panthers Saints. Panthers a slight favorite in this one. Some injury stuff to be aware of. Kamara also not at practice today. Looks like he's going to be out again. J.C. Horn, best person in the secondary for Carolina. Concussion. He's been out since week 12, limited at practice today. Maybe this is the week that they get J.C. Horn back. The Panthers' last 7 games, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. So that means they're going to lose this week, right, Jason? That's how that works. The Saints are off that big win last week against the Bucs. I kind of like fading teams in this spot that get a big emotional upset win against the team, and then they're going to let us down this week. But I'm not betting this game personally, and no interest in it in any survivor pools on it.
I agree with 99% of that, but I guess I would say I may go to the window on Carolina because what you said about the Saints, I don't think they back up that win with another one here. Tennessee going to back up the win at Cleveland with a win at San Francisco. I just don't see it. And I like what Canales is doing down there, and they have a running game, and he's starting to work in Chuba Hubbard a little bit too. So I actually like Carolina quite a bit in this spot, not for Circa Survivor though.
Good stuff. Good stuff. We got Stevie Penn chipping in, and I agree. He says another puke bucket game. Yeah, there's a couple of them on the schedule this week for sure. This one up next is not a puke bucket game. This is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Lions-Rams. Rams, 5.5-point favorites. Nobody has the Lions or Rams available in Circa Survivor. Fun one to watch, though. Jason, is Matthew Stafford the MVP? 35 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this season. He's the betting odds favorite for the MVP. You think he takes it home ultimately?
100%. And I've alluded to this before on the show. The MVP a couple years ago flipped hands. It was Brock Purdy's running away. And then the Ravens came out on Christmas Day and Purdy threw 4 interceptions and Lamar Jackson played great. And that game mattered. So on December 10th, I like to look at the board for maybe someone down, but down on the board a little bit. But this year it just feels like it's Stafford's. It feels a little bit like a career award in a way, but the numbers stack up. And I'm a Patriots fan, but it's not Drake Mays. It's Matthew Stafford 100% for me.
Gotta love the Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford dual revenge game.
And I will say real quickly, like Detroit, man, it's got to be tough. Like it felt like they got a little adrenaline early in the year, but without Ben Johnson, it's sort of fallen off. What do you think about this game, Rams -5.5? I mean, you any lean?
I would take the points with the Lions as a lean here, but I won't be betting it. This is one of those,
you. I just asking.
One of those. Yeah. We've said it a couple times on the show. Really fun to watch, but no thanks.
Yeah.
The over might be interesting. I don't know what the total is off the top of my head, but it looks like it'd be a high scoring game.
I agree.
Sunday Night Football, Vikings, Cowboys. Everyone has Minnesota available, but nobody's going to use Minnesota in this spot as an underdog because they're going to need them for Christmas. And same thing for the 5 people that have Dallas available. I want to give them a shout out. Accorsi, Caveman, Juicy Coochie, Kick Your Knees, and Real Bro. Those are the 5 that have Dallas available. Again, obviously not using them here, but if it makes it to Christmas, that's where you're going to want to fire away. I was curious if Dak Prescott had ever played against Brian Flores, and not when Flores was in the defensive coordinator role, but he did play against Flores when Flores was the head coach of the Dolphins in 2019. I don't think that's very relevant, but he had like a decent game, 246 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. For non-Circa Survivor folks listening out there, would you trust Dallas in this spot, Jason?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't trust Dallas in this spot, and look, yeah, you say non-Circa Survivor. It's a very good point because if you're not saving them for Christmas, how do you feel about them in this spot? I like them, but I also liked them a lot last week and sort of laid an egg, and that defense sort of reared its ugly head again. Sure. So this would scare me quite a bit. And I also think that Christmas Day slate is going to look different as the days fall off the calendar than it does here 15 days out.
Yep, fair enough. Very good point. And it's going to be interesting to see how that affects Circa Survivor for sure. Monday Night Football. We've got the Dolphins and Steelers. Slight chance of snow, 21 degrees. Football weather, Jason. Going to be a fun one to watch. I think this is just 2 teams that you cannot trust at all. I mean, 5 people have the Steelers available in Circa Survivor. No way they use them here in this spot. This is the type of thing where if you try to get too cute and go down with the Steelers with this much money on the line, you don't sleep well at night. So not expecting to see any. The only, I'll just throw this out there, though. It's kind of nice to have the Monday night team in Circa Survivor. Like the guy who lost last week with the Eagles.
Right.
It was set up perfectly for him. And I know the Eagles ended up losing, but it creates a nice hedge spot where you go into that Monday night game knowing, I mean, maybe best case scenario, knowing that you can win on Monday, but at least knowing, hey, 5 people have gotten knocked out, that sort of thing. That's the only appeal to it, but still, you can't do it. The win probability isn't high enough in Circa Survivor. Non-Circa Survivor pools, Jason, could you get comfortable with the Steelers against the hot Dolphins team?
I don't think so. When you talk about football weather, that doesn't favor Miami ever coming up to football weather. But Aaron Rodgers feel like he's another hit away from the career being over and made some magic at Baltimore, but Baltimore just ain't right. So no, I stay far away from this one. Those
old bones in the cold weather, man.
Yes.
I'm getting older myself. I'm over 40 now, and I don't like the cold weather. So I'm sure it's not too comfortable on Aaron Rodgers. That's our slate. That's our week 15 slate, but we got a few other things to talk about here.
Yeah.
Jason. I'm going to let you take it away.
So let me talk through the Splash contest, right? So I appreciate everybody over at Splash keeping us in the game. All right, Tony. So here's what we did. We're playing. We have $250 we're playing with, right? And of course, Mike Jones remains ahead of me. Thank you, Mike. So I joined the Splash 150,000 extra bloody survivor. I think Mike just had that up on the screen. So guaranteed 150,000. So we're looking at it, right? Entrance attempt to select the winner for 4 games, Tony. Four games per week.
Jason, we've been terrible at this when we've had to select 3. Now we got to select 4, huh?
So the only thing I'll say, Tony, when we were selecting 3, we had a little bit of a run until we got a little bit cute with the Saints. One week.
Yep.
So that's so those who want to, sort of play with us, the Splash 150,000 extra bloody survivor, we will let you know what we're doing. We got a lot to talk about offline, Tony, with 4 teams. Too much to get into now.
For sure. Do you have any early thoughts on the college football one?
So before we get to that one, quickly, just want to tell you, because this is another interesting NFL contest, because the college football one, I got a couple thoughts, but nothing, I tend to be more in your lane with the pro football.
Okay.
The Splash 50,000 Road to the Big Game Survivor. So this is another interesting contest I joined, Tony. So it's $50,000 guaranteed. 2 picks per week for the duration of the regular season. So it's an NFL Survivor. Then 1 pick per week for the playoffs.
Okay.
So I like this a lot, right?
Yep.
So this contest, I think Jason, we have some. Go ahead.
This is fascinating because I've got a contest to tell you about after this. Similar setup. And what's fascinating about it, you are kind of also projecting who you think is going to make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So, like, for instance, you heard me talk about the 49ers and how I think the 49ers could surprise people and win a first-round playoff game and get Fred Warner back and go on a run. So that would make me not want to take the 49ers this week. I love the strategy.
100%. And also, too, I mean, you got to keep in mind bye teams that could be on a bye. You might not have the opportunity to lose one team, for that first week. So pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then we'll get out of our lane a little bit. We're going to join Kelly in Vegas. Kelly's 250,000 college football playoff survivor. Now, 250,000, you can only use each team once. Double pick weeks are the first round and the quarterfinal. So I think we need to make 2 picks in the first week. Okay. But that's something, Tony, where I may, call on a couple of my college football folks, but also too, I live down here in Miami, Florida, right? A lot of people upset. Notre Dame's not in, but the U is in, and I think they're going to make a run. So maybe we'll play a little Miami, just to have a little juice for the 305 down here. We'll see.
I like it. And you know what? Sometimes luck is involved in these things, Jason, and maybe you and I, who aren't as big of college football fans as we are pro football, maybe we get a little lucky and we go on a run. And our ignorance, if we can call it that, actually helps us out a little bit.
Ignorance is bliss. Tony, you just changed my mind. I'm not soliciting any advice. We're going to go in I'm serious. We're going in as NFL guys, and we're going to do it without any advice. And what I will say, we need to get together online, because picking 4 teams in that one survivor, Tony, we need to spend some time on the phone. Yes. So I look forward to that.
Absolutely. Agreed. So I've got a contest for you to let you know about. The folks over at Survivor Sweat, I got an email today. They have a Survivor Sweat playoff contest. It's called the playoff contest, but it actually starts this week. In fact, the deadline is Saturday, 4 p.m. Easy to remember because it's also the Circa Survivor deadline as well. What you got to do, sort of as you said with that last contest, it starts now. It goes through the playoffs, theoretically to the Super Bowl, if it's still happening at that point. 204 people have already signed up, Jason. You and I each have an entry in this.
Ooh.
So I'm curious. Let's workshop this for maybe, just a couple minutes here before we head out. I just said I don't want to use the 49ers because I think they can make a deep playoff run. Seattle, I like their matchup this week, but I don't want to use them either. Who's like a non-playoff team that you could get comfortable with this week? By the way, in this contest, Christmas is separate as well. So that's a double week, just like Circa. Who's a non-playoff team? I mean, you could go with the playoff
Tampa
team.
Bay Buccaneers on Thursday night, Tony.
Oh, Jason, the Thursday night game killed us last week. You want to go back to that well?
Oh, and where's that Mike Evans touchdown prop? Gobble that up too. Tony, I'm not. I don't want Mike Jones pulling the trigger right now, but I don't really think Tampa Bay is going to do much in the NFC in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So that's part of the thinking too.
I'm interested. Now we have separate picks, so we don't have to agree on this. I'm thinking Jacksonville. Because although I think Jacksonville is going to make the playoffs, I think they could also be a one-and-done team. So I like the idea. I'm not trusting Jacksonville if I'm still alive in this thing with that much money on the line. I'm not trusting Jacksonville first round in the playoffs. So I think Jacksonville might be my pick potentially in the Survivor Series.
And Tony, hey, maybe we'll go on the side. We get a little cute with it, right? We join forces. We go a little Tampa Bay, a little Jacksonville.
Well, hey,
see what happens. A little Florida combo. Yeah,
ooh, I like that. I like that. We got somebody chiming in. They said, Jason, you're right. Tampa is the play. So you got some consent.
And then afterwards, I'll be laughing like your handle, like, ha ha, I'm a clown. But the National Football League humbles us. It really does.
And Randy says, hoping the pot gets up to 100,000. We're trying to spread the word here so we can get some more folks in this contest. Randy, best of luck to you. Let us know maybe on Twitter, Randy, because we're going to sign off here in a minute. Anyways, let us know on Twitter what you're thinking about this contest. It's a different way to approach Survivor. Same rules. You can't use the same team more than once, but the playoff implications makes things very, very, very interesting for sure. Jason, what a show, man. I talked about how my favorite part of the show earlier was that sort of poker moment when one of the guests said, I don't know if this guest is even telling the truth right now. That was such a cool moment, interviewing those three people who are still alive. 30% of the field was on our show tonight, fighting for $18.7 million. What a show. A lot of fun.
Just unbelievable. And 1 week after, Morgan gets through on Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And made some money hedging last year in the contest. And then welcome to your new life a week later. It's just that it is insane.
This contest is not for the faint of heart, for sure. For sure. No doubt about it. Best contest in the world, though. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hey, before we let you go, actually, we haven't mentioned this yet. If you can hit that thumbs up button on YouTube, give us a subscribe. We have a lot of people watching who aren't subscribed. So if you can subscribe as well, hit that black button. That helps us a lot. Give us a heart on Twitter. Subscribe on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, etc. Appreciate you guys. Extra props to those 10 people still alive. Soak it up.
Lines are set, the odds are high. Every bet a test who will survive. Chasing stacks, outlast the crowd. Only the strongest left now.